All right, let's do it. Good morning, Tartaria Australia and Autodidactic. We're here for another podcast. Hey, buddy, how you going?
I'm good. Yeah, not as sweaty as you. You're out there cleaning up your farm. But yeah, no, I'm sitting here in.
Yes, I'm on my farm.
I think we're both doing the sweat lodge thing. I've had no air conditioning. It broke like 2 weeks ago, and every day's been over 36 degrees since. So it's doing the cleanse.
Well, I'm here in the ice, like far into the rural belt of rural New South Wales, just sort of cusping to the Queensland, just that cusp between the desert and the agricultural belt. And it's hot and it's sweaty and I'm out of practice and I've been sitting in Melbourne in front of that computer and now I have to do all this like pooey, smelly, webby, dirty, dusty, rusty, heavy work for the next couple of weeks. So I will take us through the farm when I've cleaned it up a little bit and we'll do a little podcast about what I did on my first attempt at a community environment, a community farm. I think it's good timing. But Cambell, we've got an awesome podcast today because guess who we are going to talk to in a minute?
And guess
I know everyone's been waiting for this one.
Yep. So I'm just about to let in the girls from Tartarian Truthers. We've got Casey and JoJo. So let's admit them and say hello. All right, we should be going.
So this is exciting because the Tartarian Truthers are in the house. We've had a lot of requests for people to. Hi, ladies. We're live right now.
Oh, wow. Hello. It's alive.
Oh, we're recording. Yeah.
We're live. So I was just about to say, we've had so many people request that we connect with you guys and have a podcast together. So this has been a long time in the making. So welcome to Tartaria Australia.
Yay.
Hello.
G'day. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Yeah, so if anyone doesn't know, you're the Tartarian Truthers, and how old is your channel? It's not that old, is it? What are we talking, months?
No,
September?
I think September. Yeah, it was our first one. Yeah,
Jeez,
September, yeah.
And what are you up to now in subs?
Nearly at 20K.
Fantastic.
20? Oh my God. Jeez, putting me to shame.
Cambell, I think we have you to thank for that too, because you did promote us, so thank you.
No, my pleasure. I mean, I think it's also the work you do has a bit to do with it. You know, you're doing great work. Everyone loves it, and you just sort of present things, you know, in a easy, digestible way. I think, you know, you just sort of So I love all your videos. So we'll obviously leave the link below if you haven't seen the girls. Go check out their channel, give them a like, a subscribe, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yes. So, Kel, you got a question? Or do you want me to keep going?
Yeah. Well, so ladies, I'm on my farm right now, in the middle of nowhere. I have a bush community farm that I started about 15 years ago, and so I'm covered in paint, and I'm in the state of renovating. But I wanted to start straight into this. Like, how has Tartaria changed your lives?
I think Casey's having some technical difficulties right now. She's in her van, so I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but she's had to sort of pack up and I can see she's gone to get her stuff sorted out. So she's in her van right now.
No.
Look, as for me, Tartaria, I think, so I'll give you a little background on how it all came about for me. I recently relocated to Sydney in 2020 during the pandemic. And I was in a hotel room, sitting 2 weeks staring at some really ugly structures. I was surrounded by like hideous, brutalist structures. And I'm like, what is going on? And right below that was like a little old pub. And I would go, this little pub is so beautifully, architecturally beautiful. Like, how is it we went from this to this? And so I'm talking 2020. I did not wake up until then. Like, it took me sitting in 2 weeks in quarantine, realizing I had never heard of you, Cambell, sorry. I never heard of Tartaria. And I started doing my research. So I had 2 weeks to sit in there and I started researching. And then I kind of stumbled upon some sites through Instagram and some pages I started following and other YouTube channels. And so after that, I couldn't get enough of it, you know, and it just all consumed me. And I'm not 100% certain on how Casey came about it, but we did meet at a freedom rally last year. I think it was May, and we met through Instagram.
Cool.
And Instagram, seriously, I tell you what, you can meet some of the best people on there. And when I met Casey, I thought she was a bloke. I thought her name was Casey. Most people in this industry are blokes, right? And so I went, oh, please don't be a guy. Please don't be a guy. And I'm like, oh, hi, Casey, it's JoJo. Are you a guy? And she wrote back, no, I'm a girl. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like so happy that she was, she had to drop out. Sorry. I'm sure she's going to get reconnected here in a minute. But I was so grateful to meet her, because from that point on, we decided to meet at the Freedom Rally. And we were walking around and we were marching and calling, I don't know, we're saying freedom or whatever we were calling out, but we were just like staring at all the buildings around us and going, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know, like none of this makes any sense. Are you in, Casey?
I'm back.
You're back. Thank goodness. Okay.
Doing it for
so I was just telling Cambell about our story of how we met and how Tartaria has changed my life. And then, you know, since we met, it's just grown from there. Like we just bounce off each other. It's like we feed off each other. And it's just been unbelievable.
Tell them we've only met each other twice in real life as well. Like it's just been insane.
Well, Kel and I
we just met through Instagram. I just
we're still planning it.
Yeah. But it's been the same story with us. Yeah. We just like found the right vibe with each other and just like happy as now partnered up doing our thing. Like it's definitely you want to collab, a co-pilot with Tartaria. It's too fun to do it by yourself.
That's right. And you need someone to bounce ideas off and theories. It's good to have a partner, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm glad I found Casey, because I felt so alone out there. The other part, I guess, for me, I was really just interested in old world architecture, and Casey was who brought in the Australian factor, which I never had really thought of until Casey brought up all of the mudflood stuff, and I hadn't even really heard of any of that until I met her. And so once we started sharing what we'd seen and talking, and we decided to put our page together, we started off thinking we're going to do a podcast, and we're like, I think Casey said, no, I think it has to be visual, because people react better to the visuals than just us talking, and how much can we say without having something to look at, you know? So that's how it kind of came about.
I think for me, I just became obsessed with, like, it was almost like I had to prove that Australia had a part in this somehow, because everyone kind of just forgets about Australia and says, you know, it's only such a young nation. And I was like, no, there's more to this, and we've got to disprove this narrative, this historical narrative that we've all been taught, and get people thinking in a different light. And I think that's how Tartarian Truthers was born, really. Was just maybe a little bit out of ego, because we're like, no, we have to prove this.
And even with our name.
It's fascinating for that reason, because I'm the same. I was in, I came from my farm to Melbourne, and then was just like so blown away with looking at the Melbourne architecture that it thoroughly entertained me the whole way through lockdown, because everyone was locked up and like adhering to those laws. So it was just me in the city for like a year, just walking around. Like I couldn't go in, but I had total visual access, no one on the roads. And then like, so Cambell and I sort of followed the Melbourne journey, and it sort of took us to the question about the Indigenous and how has this not been represented in their art or their stories or information, if we know now that this was all found it was all here before we were. Any thoughts on that?
We do have some thoughts. It's kind of hard to convey them, though, respectfully, without, saying things that might, put our First Nations people, make them feel a little uncomfortable, or say that we're disrespecting their history or their culture. But I do just wonder if perhaps, there were Indigenous Australians living alongside other European people that were already living here before the British invaded and claimed everything as their own. We can't really disprove that or prove that, but there is some stories. A few people have sent me some like dreaming stories lately where they do mention mud floods or mudslides, I think was the word that they used in some of their dreaming stories as well. So, and big floods as well is another one. So yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
What are your thoughts, Campbell?
Yeah, it's interesting. When we spoke to the Strong, Evan and Stephen Strong, they were talking about legends about cities in the middle, in the desert, big cities full of, white people, and all the convicts and early sort of colonists, the Irish, I think, just making a dash and running out to the middle of the desert trying to escape, the tyranny. So it's interesting. I mean, it's like, in Tasmania, they literally, they genocided the whole population, right? And so there's also that side, and of course, we've got to sort of tread lightly, but I wonder, how much, was actually going and destroying certain stories, and then because that really changed history, right? So, they do it so many ways. So I think that's another factor of why, they don't remember it right. Maybe it was taken from them as well.
And they definitely mention the giants. There's definitely references to giants. Like, I've had lots of conversations with elders now where they've said, oh, yes, we never talk about it, but yes, there are definitely Dreamtime stories that talk about the giants and us living beside the giants.
Yeah.
I think, we kind of like got according to sort of that timeline we've worked on, maybe 300 years ago, there was the reset, the last big one. And then, and it's quite possible that our Indigenous will reset alongside us, or they were not in the reset, and that's where they've got this beautiful connection to their timeline and their Dreamtime stories and their history. But then they were totally hunted down and completely persecuted to get them out of that sort of story as well.
Yeah, I've heard a few comments from people. So there's one from a guy that we speak to in WA, and he was saying that his grandfather said to him, so he's a First Nations guy, and he said his grandfather said to him, white people have always been here. And he's never really elaborated on that, but that's coming from his grandfather. And then I was speaking to a woman the other day, and she said that she was talking to an older First Nations man, and he said there was never any convicts.
Yes.
No convicts came over on those ships. They were all soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm supposed to be a descendant.
So, how do we know that Sydney wasn't genocided like Tasmania was? We don't know.
Yeah, Cindy confirmed that pretty much, didn't she, Campbell?
Yeah. And this is the thing. The whole convict story doesn't make sense, does it? All these people.
No, the convict story doesn't make sense.
Not enough ships, and they're bringing over bloody camels and horses.
Tiny ships.
And, it's just
supplies to build these huge structures.
Yeah. They actually even say that
Windows,
they brought over the first trains. I think was that in your video?
Oh gosh.
Was it? And they brought over the first couple of steam engines. Hundreds of tons of iron. Yeah, chucked a wooden boat and floated across the ocean. Why not?
That's crazy. And look, I'm a farmer, so I know what you need to do to feed one animal for every week, one animal, let alone like a ship full of people and animals traveling on the ocean without supplies for 9 months.
Exactly.
It's bullshit. It's a bullshit story that's ridiculous when you actually look at it.
Sadly,
you ask any farmer.
People believe the story, don't they? That's the problem, is that and that's the backlash Casey and I get mostly, is that, what about the First Nations people? We get that all the time, right? And it's hard for us to actually speak on it. And we're working on an episode right now that does touch a little bit, and it's coming out hopefully today or tomorrow. But, again, Casey did say it's
not today or tomorrow, in the next weeks.
Oh, no, sorry. Well, we've got one that touches a little bit tonight.
Oh,
Casey.
yes.
That one does.
Yeah.
We do touch. The one that we're working on right now, I can mention it's on Vinegar Hill, and it's
the Battle of Vinegar Hill, yeah.
Battle of Vinegar Hill. So we're just sort of doing a little bit of an expose on that. But we do talk a little bit about, our thoughts there, and that, I think, will then lead into a bigger episode once we get a handle on it. Like we really don't, it is delicate, and we don't want to misrepresent the First Nations people in any way.
Yeah.
Well, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because it's taken us our whole lifetimes to see it. We've been around these buildings, and it's taken us forever to break through that consciousness and the programming to see it for the first time. Exactly the same with our Indigenous brothers and sisters, man. They could easily have been living alongside these dead cities and these other civilizations, but it was just integrated, and the stories they captured and the truths and the information that they prized was to do with the earth and the land and the animals. It wasn't with this background. I mean, I think about it. If I was telling a Dreamtime story now, would I think to talk about the buildings that are around me? No, I wouldn't. I would be talking about,
more interesting things.
The soul stuff. So
if we wrote a book, we wouldn't be describing our house, would we? And the street lights, and oh my God, there's a bridge. It's.
What else I find really fascinating, though, is that a lot of the Aboriginal people's sacred sites, some of the really incredible ones, are actually, they look very much like melted structures.
They do.
Those big ones out in the Northern Territory and WA. There's a few, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. There's a big one that they only just rediscovered probably 20 years ago or something, and it actually looks like melted pylons going into the ground. Yeah, it's incredible. And so I think, maybe that was a part of the reason why those areas are so sacred to these people, but it's just been lost, over a period of time. They know it's sacred, it's there's something very special about that space, but why has been lost through the generations, perhaps. I don't know. But
when we spoke to Evan and Stephen Strong, they alluded to energetic centers, which were sort of like Indigenous sacred spaces, but it was potentially old technology still operating from under the ground and creating this energetic frequency band around these sites. And I agree with you. Are you talking about that site where it's like columns and then there's a ceiling with artwwork everywhere?
Yes.
We showed that one, Campbell. Yeah, it looks like columns of a building. That's basically.
Right. Yeah. That's just been annihilated, and that's all that's left. All on the top is just gone. That's all that remains.
Just ruins.
It's incredible.
The background of that one.
Ruins, ancient ruins.
In the background, it looks like there's doors and stuff in the sort of rocks behind it. It's like the whole site.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the thing, I mean, they're definitely all energy sites that are still functioning to some, because I think even if it's technology that would have been built on a natural, energy line, which is what's happening, which is why we know they do things like, build a new Parliament House on certain energy grids, and, abattoirs is another one. They love to put abattoirs and stuff like that on nodal points. So it really is an energy.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, they do. It's
shocking,
But another thing that we heard from the Strongs, wasn't it, is that they said that the originals essentially walked away from technology and they just gave it all up. And that could be another reason why they've lost a lot of information. They just rejected it all. And you can kind of see where we are at the moment, why they would do that, right? Oh my God, they're all spying on us.
Exactly.
Bugger it all. Let's just go off and create something different.
Or Campbell, just to throw in a wild card there, because there's been a bit of talk on my channels recently, and it's a wild card. But also, apart from just walking away, they could have made a deal. Like, it's unusual that the law keepers of the whole realm, which is what we've traced them back to, guys, that they were the original law keepers for the whole realm, and many different entities and groups and tribes would come to Australia to take wisdom and teachings from the law keepers. And that Cook came and we went to war, but had magic still. They were able to use magic, and the fact that they did like walk away from that, and then this massive disgusting genocide happened and put that whole timelines into play, and then they stole the law and took it, replaced it with maritime law in their false inverted society. There's potentially some deal was struck there for some reason we don't know about yet. And that maybe is part of what's coming to pass now, that the contractual passing over now back to the sovereign law holders of the realm, our government, our law, like there's some time contract deal completed. I don't know, just putting it out there.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
definitely could be something. Yeah,
I've had that thought. It looks like we know there's been a war, right? And after wars, they make deals, right? Like after World War II, there were deals like, oh, you did this, so you now have to go and rebuild this country, or you need to do this. We could literally be in one of those contracts that's lasting 200-300 years. Because look, it's all to do with law, isn't it? Everything's to do with law and all these rules. And I was looking at the White Fleet. Have you looked into the White Fleet at all? Which is this fleet of boats. Yeah, this fleet of boats. 12 battleships left the USA in 1907 and basically circumnavigated the world. And they stopped in at places like Australia, New Zealand, England, like, the big sort of 5 countries, all the big 7 or whatever. And basically it was like, they say it was, a show of force, but also, a peace kind of trip. It was both. But basically they went around and they just made contracts with everyone. They made all these deals. They signed everyone up. They came to Sydney, got off their boat and walked down the street fully armed as an army, and everyone cheered them, so that they literally, it's like, well, we're on your land. You want us here, so we own you, And then 2-3 years later, World War One. And what happens? All those countries join together and they fight the baddie. So it's this big, convoluted story, isn't it? There's so much to it, but it's all it does all seem to come back to contracts and things like this.
Maybe the deal was about contrast. Maybe the deal was about provoking our evolution. Maybe that was the wisdom in the deal, that for 300 years we would be in a contrasting environment where we had to like evolve our shit, man, and deal with all of this negativity and this suffering and this depression, the Great Depression and the Great Wars and the plagues and the fucking whatever else it's been like. And that's provoking now this great conscious awakening, is it not? Like Tartaria, I tell you guys, like, I went to all the protests in Melbourne, right? And every single time I went to protest, someone would come up to me and went, oh my God, you're Tartaria. And then they would be like, oh my God, it's so grand, all these buildings. It's like the fucking French Bastille days. We're all protesting, orange smoke and these glorious buildings everywhere. And Tartaria is alive in the freedom movement, alive.
Definitely,
so, and this consciousness, like, it's come about, like, it's taken us 300 years to understand this and see it, to really see it, and our whole lifetimes, right? Like, so, and we've evolved to do that. Like, we've had to evolve and own our shit to be able to do that. We've had to deprogram our minds. That takes a lot of, like, work, as you guys know.
And you lose a lot along the way too.
You sure do.
Talk about that.
You lose a lot of friends and family.
Tell us about that. Tell us about your stories, what you lost and gained.
Oh, gosh, I think for me, I feel like I'm very much alone because I don't have the support, I guess. Like, my husband thinks I'm crazy. And they still, I mean, my son and my husband, not that they think I'm crazy, but they really see that I'm fully, I'm obsessed. Yeah, I am obsessed is the word, yes. and it all consumes me, and yet I don't have that kind of support that I can talk to them and be like, oh, and by the way, like, you know, this is what I found today, and it's so fascinating. But thank goodness I found Casey, because she's like my person I can go to, and we can talk about it for days. You know, we probably could day and night, and not stop talking about the topics that we find. But yeah, I've lost some friends, and you know, it is what it is. But I think it's part of this process. You are going to gain so much more after losing the things that you thought were really important at the time. And to me, now that I look back, I'm like, gosh, I really put a lot of emphasis on things that weren't that important. And this, to me right now, the Great Awakening, or whatever we want to call it, is far more important than a friendship it's just not providing me with anything or giving me anything. You know, this gives me so much more. You know, and I'm forever grateful actually for getting the opportunity to expose all this, you know, like, and having the guts, I guess, to do it, because that's a big deal too. You got to be able to just say, okay, fuck it. I have a better word.
If I can say it, we love
because you know, if I don't do it, and who else is going to do it? And I think Casey and we found a way to present our information, like you said, Cambell, a bit more, we can digest it a little bit easier. It's hard to watch some things, and you know, we take the piss out of stuff, right? Because we know it's kind of funny. Like, you got to look at some of these stories and go, is this really what we were taught? And we just went ridiculous. Along with it. Isn't it ridiculous? So that's what we do most of the time, is we're giggling at the fact that we were at school going, oh, you know, taking our notes and making sure we had everything in line and doing our tests and our exams, and, you know, and come to find out we're learning lies. We're getting tested on lies, and all these years wasted. You know?
Pretty much.
They give you something to lose. You know, you're an expert, you've got a job, you've written a book, and then if you go, well, that's all crap, you've lost everything, you know. So exactly. But you to get more, you've got to empty the glass, right? You can't keep filling up a full glass. You got to empty it if you want something new. And how about you, Casey? How's your journey been?
How's my what been? Sorry.
Your journey.
My journey. Yeah. So it's been a tricky couple of years, but yeah, as you can see, I now live in this caravan, which was by choice. We were always planning to sell up and just travel and work when we needed to, but I guess the mandates at the end of last year kind of kicked us up the bum to do it a bit faster. They were mandated in my industry and my husband's industry, so we were just like, okay, well, that's a sign that it's time to do what we'd planned to do. So we sold the house, sold all of our stuff, and now we live in a 15-foot hybrid caravan. And yeah, it's kind of cool because now I get to go to all the cool places that you know, I see online, or you know, people send me photos, and you know, I'm planning to go to Ballarat next week actually from where I am. I'm just down in Warrigal at the moment, visiting my stepson and his little family. So yeah, then we're going to head to Ballarat, and hopefully I want to try and get in and see these underground streets. There's apparently a part of Ballarat that's still underground, but people are saying, you know, you can't get in there, blah blah blah. But I'm like, come on, surely someone can try and get us in.
Yeah, come on, people out there.
Meet up with Casey next week. Do a Ballarat episode.
Yeah. If anyone knows,
get me down there.
Tartarian Truthers, and leave them a comment. I saw a video on that. Was it Dale? Was it Mr. Holmes who was talking about that recently? I think.
Yeah,
he
could have
may know
been.
Something.
Yeah.
He's on Facebook. You can always message him, but. I mean, they're everywhere, aren't they?
Yeah,
I remember going to Ballarat and going, what's it called? Not Pioneer Village, but they got the old
Sovereign Hill.
Sovereign Hill.
Sovereign Hill.
Do they still have
Sovereign Hill
Castle? Do you remember is that still there? Cryal Castle. It's just out of Ballarat, and it's literally a castle.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and you go inside.
And
it's all these, you know, it shows all the gross stuff of them torturing people. I remember that too. So, I mean, I just thought of that. I wonder if that's a real castle. I have to check that one out. But the whole story of Sovereign Hill.
I don't think so. I did a bit of digging around that one.
Yeah, just a recreation.
It's a bit ugly and modern looking.
Ugly. I've been thinking about the bushrangers a lot. You know, we get this story of the bushrangers. You know, Meg Kelly and all these different bushrangers, and they were just the thieves, right? You know, they were just convicts gone bad or something like this. But when you think about it, they could seriously be inhabitants trying to defend their land.
Yes,
100%.
Yes. Yep.
So
absolutely. I think we've had this kind of discussion before, JoJo, where I was like, what if Ned Kelly was not actually the bad guy they're making him out to be? He was just trying to defend himself and his land and fight back.
Kind of a bit Trump-like. It's so it's so interesting because Australia's like stories. The story of Australia, what we've got. The fucking gold rush, which is like what they used to sell us everything. Like it went from nothing to like these major cities to the gold rush, which is just the most fucking ludicrous story ever. I cannot even believe that people buy that one. That they literally went from arriving on a desolate shore to going out to the middle of the bush to finding tiny little nuggets of gold, and then suddenly bang, fucking Melbourne and Sydney are built. It's so ridiculous. We've got the whole Ned Kelly, the bushranger theme stories. We've got the first settler story. We've got the convicts story. And then it's just like, and that was it. That's like our history. That's it. That's all they've given us. Like if you actually compact it and actually you could compact it into a storybook, and it's so dumb. It's so fucking dumb. Oh my God.
Is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like if the stories they got gold, and so that's how they got their wealth, you got to sell that gold to someone. It takes like what back then?
You've got to go back overseas
to get it to Europe, and then the return trip with all the materials that you buy. It's dumb.
Yeah,
it's a very.
But that's why Australia's so cool, isn't it? Because we've got this timeline that's so tiny.
Yep.
We've got this ridiculous story that backs it up. And then whereas the rest of the world, you've got so much more history weaving and connecting with it. But Australia, we're like, you've got 200 years to work with.
Yep.
So it's really easy for us to find all the holes in this narrative, right?
Yeah.
And I truly believe Australia is the beginning and the end of all this. Like, I really feel that because the law keepers were here.
Yeah.
And Australia has the most retarded story of the whole history book as far as Tartarian truth goes.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't make sense that the rest of the world was evolving and growing, and there were huge cities and technology and everything everywhere else, but this huge landmass was just no one saw it. Like it was just vacant, empty, and then all of a sudden everyone found it all at the same time.
Yeah.
Like they're hiding something. Australia was something huge, and they're hiding it from us.
And of course, ladies, we've got Australia's famous for its red desert, and that to us is just like, hello, some massive destruction happened there, and everything
cataclysmic event
annihilated.
Yeah, totally.
It's so much fun, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's the best one to work with. We've got the best one to work with, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you look at the old maps and they're like,
I think
Australia, but they always talk about Terra Australis on all the maps when, supposedly they hadn't discovered it.
Yeah,
right.
What? Of course they knew it was there.
That's right. And because there's evidence of this big inland sea too. So that was another way that people could have, come in right into the central part of Australia. Yeah. And they say that even before the Dutch, there were people coming in through that middle part. And the guy that we speak to from WA, he says we've got history here where our Aboriginal people were living alongside white people, and we've still got the genetics of that coming through today when we've got some Aboriginal children being born with the really, really blonde hair. Out there in the desert. So I think definitely they were coming in through that inland sea. without a doubt.
That's a good point.
Who knows how long ago?
And if they did, then there's no, they wouldn't have necessarily been in contact with people down in, like Victoria, where Victoria is, would they? Because
that's right.
They'd be coming in, doing their stuff, and then leaving. So that's a very good point.
And wherever Tartaria sort of evolved, there was water always. So like a massive inland sea, a beautiful, amazing, astounding civilization, and then whatever happened, whatever reset destruction happened, and then suddenly no water and no anything but lots and lots of red sand everywhere.
And salt lakes. Salt lakes everywhere, right? All through the
strange pink salt lakes.
So that's desperation that's been evaporated. Salt water.
And it's so interesting. Do you guys know that currently the Northern Territory has been secured as a biosecurity? It's got a biosecurity I don't know what you'd call it, but basically they've locked it down and they've declared it this biosecurity issue. And so all the energy of the pandemic is on the Northern Territory. And it's so interesting how those two things have wired and fired together.
I wonder what they're hiding.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Is it David Cole?
And there's so much military up there as well.
Yeah.
David Cole, is that his name? He put out a video showing all the basically all the Aboriginal places where they're living, the originals that were deemed bad, sea places, and then he overlaid a map of mining companies who were trying to get rights, and it was literally all in the same spots. So they're trying to use biohazard and say, you can't live there, it's dangerous. And then the miners will go in and buy it up for cheap and just dig the crap out of it.
But think of what they'll find if they mine that area. They're not looking for fucking iron ore. They know what they can find out there. Who knows what they actually can discover mining inland Australia if this civilization was there.
Well, is that what mining is? Because when we had a look at all these sites in the middle of Australia, so many of them look like old buildings or old star forts that they're literally just mining. And are they doing that to get out of the water there? And then when they do it, then they're into the tunnels below, right?
Yeah, true.
The tunnels. Let's talk about the tunnels, ladies. You focused in on Sydney, which is great because I've been focusing in on Melbourne. So what have you discovered with the tunnels in Sydney? What's been the most surprising thing you've come across in your hunt through Sydney?
In regards to the tunnels?
Or anything.
Just that there's a shitload of them in Sydney, and some people are aware of, and others, a lot of people were messaging and commenting after we did the little bonus feature on Sydney's underground labyrinth, telling us about all these other tunnels and these different systems, train systems that go down under the ground, all under the harbour, Sydney Harbour, that aren't in use anymore. They just dug them out apparently, and then they just decided not to use them. All that work and manpower, these tunnels are already here, quite obviously. We didn't have the manpower to not only build these huge buildings that were built, but also dig advanced tunnel systems underneath them all. There's so much more to
and
this
they
story.
stretch out. They
What do you
stretch out,
think, JoJo?
so far. From Sydney to Bankstown, you hear that there's tunnels that go all the way out there, out even further west. I've heard they even go all the way out to ACT. That's extreme, but like Casey said, who had the manpower? Who was doing all this work? These were already here. Once this massive cataclysmic event took place, all of that's remained are mostly the tunnels, right? The tunnel systems underground. So I feel like slowly we're going to get more access. This is my goal. I think Casey and I both really wanted to try and get in, especially went to St. James, remember, during Christmas time. We wanted to go and check out St. James train station. I don't know if you've seen that, but they used to run tours, and you could go underneath and see everything, and they've recently stopped them because of what's happening, right? Yeah. And I wonder if that's all part of it too, you know, this COVID cover up. So we're just stopped from doing anything. It stopped us in our tracks from, you know, furthering our research, even if we tried, you know, and it's stopping us from, I think, waking more people up, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, you're all frozen on my screen, by the way.
Oh, who, me?
Cool. This might be my
me or Casey?
All of you.
All of us.
Oh.
You're still.
Can you hear us though?
I could see everyone. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Real good.
Excellent. Okay. Just my weird connection. So, like, what do you guys think with the location of the Opera House?
Ooh. Do you remember we did a little bit? Yes, very suspicious that they built that on that site.
Was that Fort Macquarie?
There's something kind of satanic and symbolic about it. Fort Macquarie used to be there. Yeah. And they say that they knocked down Fort Macquarie.
Mm-hmm. Yep. After they turned.
Yeah, they said they knocked down Fort Macquarie to build Fort Macquarie tram station.
Yeah.
But it was in a totally different location on that headland. Yeah. The fort was actually in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then they knocked down that as well and put that there. So there's something energetically about that space.
It's very sort of,
I don't know myself.
Sail-like, isn't it? Like a ship.
Yeah. Yeah, and they use it, you know, to display lots of weird things. You know, sometimes they put some pretty odd artwork up there on those sails. Yeah, I don't know. There's a few people have I don't know personally, but a few people have said to me there's tunnels that go from there to other places in Sydney as well, and it's, you know, child trafficking and all sorts of different things. Who knows? Yeah. I don't know.
Same with Melbourne. Like, I mean, Melbourne's got so many disgusting underground layers and tunnels, and it's all been like used for. I mean, I heard that Melbourne was the capital of the whole human trafficking pedophile thing for the world. So, you know, it makes, you know, it doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah, that we're in the mess in Victoria as we are.
Yeah.
But
who knows?
They're interesting energetics, aren't they? Because you guys, like, what's your background? Who were you before Tartaria? What were you doing?
I was a preschool teacher.
Oh,
I've been in early childhood education for 17 years. And then the last 3 years I was a coordinator. So I didn't actually work on the floor. But then, they mandated the, you know, inoculations. And so that was the end of it for me. Yeah. So nothing at all to do with Tartaria.
Oh, my God. You should work with Cambell and I on teaching aids for truth. We're about to start this whole new push to come up with sort of how to help all these homeschoolers and intentional schools teach all this stuff.
Yeah.
A whole new education system.
We do need a new education system. Yeah, we need an education system that teaches critical thinking. Yeah, not just sitting down and learning by rote.
Yeah. But Casey and I, when we first started, we thought we're going to be the new historians here. We were just jokingly saying that, but I mean, who knows, you know, like, seriously. And as for me, I like I said earlier, I recently moved from Hawaii after living there for 18 years, and I worked for a construction company, an Australian construction company, and I worked for them for about 15 years over there. We built all military housing. Yes, and I worked in sustainability. So I had a big wake-up call when I realized, you know, I was doing all these environmental type projects, and, you know, I just realized how I had been fooled. And when I moved back to Sydney, I fortunately I didn't need to get a job. So I'm a stay-home mum, and I am basically sort of, like I said, all consumed in this. This
is your job now.
And but it's my job now. It really is my job. I feel like I'm so invested now. You know, there's no stopping. I can't see the break. I can't put my foot on the brake. It's just like
Yeah.
going in fast forward. And I never ever thought we'd be getting interviewed by you guys, by the way. That was not part of our plan. We didn't even think we'd even grow to like 100 or 200. We're thinking this is just for ourselves, really just to get some information out there.
Yeah, our first few episodes are actually terrible. Our audio is terrible. We've got copyright claims because we had no idea how to do music or anything. We just had no idea.
I couldn't even use my computer.
We were just like.
But guys, you're this amazing example for our audience that you can get up. This is the same with Campbell and I. It's and Campbell's been doing it for ages. Like anyone can get up in this space, and if you're passionate about it and you've got something you want to talk about, it's such a great way to connect. I mean, like you guys have felt isolated through this journey, but in actual fact, suddenly you're inundated with comments and a community online that like are engaging and wanting to chat and talk and connect. And like, it's a big part of how we have to wire and fire, through this weird moment in human history as we sort of like transition from 3D to 5D or whatever words you want to say. I'm in the same boat. Like my background's art and graphic designs, but like regenerative ag. Yeah. And, I've been so bored by the climate change fucking story. Yes. It's doing my head in. So now I'm like, that's it. I'm leaving. I only want to talk I want to answer the question, what is 5D regenerative agriculture? And I want to swap the farmers with the wizards and alchemists. And that's the level I want to talk at now. How do we make high frequency, high vibrational medicines? Because to me, the 5D space, which I think is where all of Tartaria is leading us, there's a few characteristics. One is that we are called on to build the new earth template. And so our consciousness is matching that and freeing up from all the old programming and seeing through with clarity the truth. And the second thing is that new template is a higher frequency, and what has to come out of it is products or services or business or content that helps people heal their traumas. Yes. Basically heal up. Yeah. So to me, the new farmer, the new version of farming are those who are like using agriculture to make the highest form of CBD oil that's going to do this to the human body. Yeah. Yeah. So
without a doubt. Yeah.
We'll bring back our cathedrals and start resonating some sound frequencies out there to heal us too, if we can figure all that out.
Well, Campbell said something awesome last podcast, which was it's so fascinating that we've discovered this old civilization right as we're being called on to build a new one. And like, I think that's a beautiful symbiotic relationship we've got with Tartaria, which is why we keep pushing the consciousness of this whole thing. Yeah. What do you think, Campbell?
I mean, and like you said, like all the protests, right, all around the world, I'm going, oh, look at all those people. Oh, look at that building. Oh, look at that building. Because they're all in the old world centers, all of them. And so
true.
It's tied to what's happening now. It really is. And just as this happens, like Tartaria is sort of hitting that point where it's starting to hit mainstream now. Like, for the last couple of years, it's been sort of underground, but now it's hitting mainstream. All the American, what do you call them, patriots? They're all starting to get into it now. I've heard everyone's not that basically. They're all starting to talk about the old world. So I think we're integral with this whole, raising of consciousness. And, imagine if we were trying to build a new world, but we didn't have any sort of template or any reference point. It'd be like, we'd be going out and building wooden huts and stuff. But with this, it's like, no, we can have free energy. We can have sound healing. We can have all this stuff.
Yes.
And so it's given this push of what we can actually do. So that's how I see it. It's past coming up to help us build the future.
I mean, like, fuck green tech. Like, in my world, green tech is this big thing, solar batteries, fucking off the grid. But fuck that. We've got suppressed free energy. Like, green tech's just another distraction and money waster, and comparatively to the fact that we've got suppressed technology that's coming through. But Man, oh man, I love the fact that everyone going to protest right now, they are protesting, but they're also immersing themselves in the beautiful exploration of Tartaria. And it's just so fucking cool, and it's happening all over the world.
So it's funny you say that, because I do have a friend in Canada who's in Ottawa and basically sends me pictures of all the old world structures that he walks by, and mud flooded buildings, and like literally just a whole video just of like, oh my God, he's there at this, you know, at the protest, but he cannot stop looking at the architecture because he can see himself that doesn't make any sense. You know, like here they are, they're in this beautiful city, but they've never looked up. You know, that's the thing. Everyone's just been grinding, working 9 to 5, doing their, you know, whatever we're being told to do without ever questioning, you know, questioning these massive structures, looking around and saying, wait a minute, you know, how does this all fit into our story? Like to this story we've been told, we've been fed.
Oh my God.
You know?
We should do a coffee table publication where we get everyone who's at one of the freedom marches around the world to send in their Tartaria photos from their epicenter. That would be so it'd be all protesters and orange smoke plus Tartaria. That would be an amazing publication. I would love that.
It'd be a bestseller for sure.
Because what I've realized last night, guys, and this is good for you, Cam, because we've been talking about how does Tartaria provoke us now? What next, universe? Like, how are you going to provoke us into action? And like we've been talking about new economies and 5D economies, because hello, you guys are now the same as us. Like, you don't want to do anything else. Everything else is bullshit and a lie and deception, and therefore how are you going to make fucking money? You know, like it's a question we've all got going on. What I realized last night was that literally we're only at the brink of this new template like rolling out, right? So I don't know anyone who's making much money in the space of the new earth yet. But whatever we input now, whether it be a service, a business, an idea, a product, if we input it now, literally we become like the major organizations of like Google, Apple, all those shit corporations that started like at the beginning of the regret. We are now about to start those new whatever they're going to be, and we're here at the very beginning. And as we define what this new earth looks like, our products, businesses and services will be right at the forefront of that. So as long as we focus on them and keep pushing it, man, that's how we're all going to get abundance going into this new earth template, because we're literally going to design the economy from scratch, but be the ones who own those things.
That's right. Yeah. Without a doubt. And really the economy we're in now is, you know, money is nothing anyway. Is it like we need it because we've been taught we need money to do everything. It's literally nothing, isn't it? If we had a big cyber attack tomorrow and everything went down, there would be no money. What would we do? So, you know, it's so important. It's just like needing a new education system. We need a new economic system.
And we've got to be the ones to make it. That's why, and hello, you can't start that unless you found Tartaria.
That's right.
That's what's so fucking cool about it. It's like the key into the door of that success, because that means you've programmed your shit out of your head and you're ready to create.
Yeah, it has to be.
You're going to need a lot more people.
but right now,
I mean, this topic is getting suppressed for sure. I mean, I don't know how you guys' channel is, but I get so shadow banned. But so they're obviously onto us. They've even put out a new series. I think it's coming out on Netflix or one of those things called it's about the White City, the Columbian exhibition.
No way.
And there was like
really?
There was a murderer or something there. Some weird, you know, guy was walking around murdering people. So they've put out this thing. And it's got Keanu Reeves in it, and it's called like The Murder in the White City or something. But apparently, most of it goes into how they constructed it, trying to give this narrative of, we really did build it, and this is how we did it.
Wow.
Yeah. So
they're scared. They're ready.
Yeah, they know we're on.
Scared.
Oh, we'll have so much fun debunking that, though, won't we?
So much fun.
This is like, I watched this clip the other day, and they were comparing the Tartarian costumes to the Star Wars costumes.
What?
Like all the costumes that are in the Star Wars movies, like the Empress and all, so completely Tartarian. And the cultures that they represent in Star Wars, totally Tartarian.
Yeah. There's
so
that lady who wears when she's got the big thing sort of coming off her hat, got dots on her cheeks or something.
Yeah.
There's literally photos around of from the past, and they look exactly like her. They're like dressed exactly the same.
Okay.
Dots and all.
Wow.
So Hollywood copies the past.
Hidden in plain sight. Yeah.
Well,
Always.
it's like when you see things like Jabba's Jabba the Hutt's building. It's like this big domed thing, and you see Luke when he at the very start, and they're all living in domes and underground and stuff, and it's like, hang on, what's going on here?
Oh, that's it. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
All right.
They show us the past, but it's science fiction in space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got some gossip. I've got some gossip through my channel. So I told Campbell yesterday, but so basically coming through my channels right now really strongly is another imminent worldwide lockdown, right? Which we all sort of know it's going to happen. So this whole everything's being lifted is just temporary. But guess what it's coming at the hands of? You guys are going to love this. Guess what what's going to happen?
What?
I can't even.
All right, you ready? You ready? Yeah. This is an exclusive on Tartaria Australia. The world is going to be locked down because of a fungus plague. A fucking fungus plague, meaning and so this is like attack of the day of the Triffids. Like we're going back to that sort of Orson Welles timeline. So with the fungus plague, it's going to be carried in spores, and it's found in soil, vegetation, rotting vegetation, and which basically puts the whole world back into their houses because suddenly nature becomes the enemy. And I was like, get fucked, a fungus plague. What is this crazy reality we live in? But then I Googled it, and last year, which I didn't even see this, but mid last year in India, they started introducing this idea of a black fungus that was interacting with COVID, with the virus. And that black fungus is triggering any immune issues, which is triggered by the vaccine, and is actually making people really sick and killing them. And that's going to be what causes the next worldwide lockdown. So what the fuck is this reality we live in?
I mean, I don't know if I'm ready for this one because we've already gone through some ridiculous stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think
that is insane.
I mean, I think this is, it's like you said, Carol, this is us waking ourselves up, right? It's like, oh, really? You still believe it? Okay, okay, it's fungus, it's everywhere. You're going to believe that? Because no one's, we know it's all about, the V that people are dropping now, but no one's actually, we know has actually ever got, well, it doesn't even exist, right? The whole C thing. So I think that's what this all is. I think this is to wake people up. You can look at this as bad and, oh my God, they're doing this and we're such poor little slaves. Oh gosh, or you can go, well, okay, everyone's waking up. This is funny. They're all getting exposed, and this is the other thing. But this is what they do because whatever we believe is we put our energy into, right? So they just want us, as long as we're believing that we can't win, they're winning. So that's the scam. That's the big.
That's right.
And to make nature the enemy, to make us scared of actually the physical environment around us, to the soil, and it's just crazy.
Greta didn't work, right? So they had to keep going.
Yeah, she's scary.
This environmental thing for 30, 40 years now, trying to get people to believe it, and people still don't, but they can't. And this is why we know they have no creativity. They cannot change this. They got nothing. They got nothing. They got a few things, and they just keep pushing, and that's it. So it's what you need to understand is that
they're clutching at straws.
Yeah.
Sure, but it's collapsing, I think.
So what's been, ladies, what's been your favorite story so far, your favorite discovery, the one that you always tell people about, the one that just triggered your whole, what's your favorite story coming out of Sydney?
What's yours, Jojo? You go first.
As in my favorite, like
discovery
out of our research.
Okay, so yeah, I was completely obsessed with the QVB. I am just forever obsessed because I don't know how far down this building goes. Like, we don't know, and it's such a mysterious structure. It's so huge and majestic, and you know, I've been in there hundreds of times as a child, never paid attention, obviously, but going in with fresh eyes and going with Casey this last year, so I went during Christmas time, and walking around and just looking at even the artwork and some of the mysterious things that just are kind of sick. Actually, it's a little bit sick. There's a letter in there from the Queen, you know, Queen Elizabeth, that we're not allowed to read till 2087 or something. I mean, what's the story with that? You know, like, why can we not see, like, what is happening in that year? We won't be here, unfortunately. I mean, I don't know. Sorry, I'm speaking for me. But I don't think I'm going to be here. But I kind of want to know what's in that letter. I'm not going to lie. Like, that's like one of the biggest mysteries to me. And the Queen hasn't got long to go, I don't think. You know, you see Charles out there quite a bit now representing the royal family. So, yeah, the Queen Victoria building is my one favorite topic.
And it looks like a machine, a machine from the top, doesn't it? Like, bird's eye view, it looks like some kind of magnificent machine. I don't know what it used to be used for.
And those mystery stairs, Casey, that go up
to
the
beautiful winding staircase.
Spiral staircase.
But we don't know where it goes, and it's locked. We couldn't go up there.
Of course, we tried everything, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
It's so interesting, the timing, because as Tartaria cracked for so many people, suddenly all the buildings got shut. So we could look at them from the outside, but I haven't been able to go into any single one of the buildings here in Melbourne the whole time, and now I can't because I haven't had the chat. So we're out.
Yeah.
And then, and during this whole last 2 years, all that's been happening in Melbourne is fucking construction. Like, they are tearing down and redigging. Have you guys watched a movie called Dark City?
We noticed that in Sydney too.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, keep going.
Have you watched Dark City?
Yeah.
Right. So Dark City. Check out Dark City. That's classic.
I'm going to write that down.
Yep.
But basically what they do is in the people's sleep, they just move all the buildings around, and the people wake up, reset in a new building, in a new life.
Really?
And it's happening like every day, every night.
Wow.
And it's like during the lockdown, construction, whole arcades gone, whole facades gone, everything is shifting and changing, and it's just like freaky when you watch Dark City. And also watch 13th Floor if you haven't watched that too, guys.
Okay.
Yeah. There's some truth seekers from the 90s. They're from the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, we noticed recently, because we caught up for a weekend in Sydney just before Christmas, and we noticed lots of construction right around the CBD. But the funny thing was that all of the fencing and, you know, what they used to kind of block it all out, all had all the old world
imagery
imagery from what it used to look like way back when, you know, like in the 1800s. And we were just like, why are they doing that? That seems so odd. Once again, it's like hidden in plain sight kind of stuff. You know, why would you have that all on display when you are just like literally behind those screens, you're knocking those buildings down? Yeah.
And I wonder what are you replacing? And I wonder what they're finding too, you know, underneath. Like, there's probably
what are they hiding?
And you know, things that we're not allowed to see.
Yeah, one of the things that struck me when I was walking around Melbourne, and Cambell and I've done a show on this, is just like the absolute extent of the underground, like plumbing and all the undergroundness of the Melbourne city. Like, in order to create that underground infrastructure to put a city on top, you can't do it organically.
No.
It's not something that can happen with fucking first settlers and convicts. It's impossible. Like, it's so unbelievably integrated and intricate, and crossing the whole city with tram lines and electricity and all this. Like, there's no way. no way we could probably even do it today if we sat down and said, okay, we're going to build a whole new studio. Let's start doing. We wouldn't even know. We couldn't even do it.
No.
No way.
No way. And that's coming back to like my favorite story. I think from our research, it's the actual, when you actually start to look further into the convict story, and you, not only the contradictions, there's so many contradictions because you get different information from so many different, you know,
sources or wherever.
they're supposed to be official websites or official sourses, but they all contradict each other. But the convict story is just so ridiculous. I mean, they forgot to bring tools on the first fleet. They forgot the tools. They only brought 5,000 bricks with them, you know, like it was just ridiculous. But apparently it didn't matter, and they were still able to clear all the land and build all of these fabulous buildings while just trying to survive, you know, like I think that's the funnest part for me, is just actually reading about the convict stuff, because it's just ludicrous. It really is.
That was my favorite episode of you guys. I like that one a lot, because Campbell and I have been like, we just think it's the fucking funniest thing ever. Like, I'm like literally just, I'm paving one of the areas of my farm at the moment, and there's this thing, I know what that looks like in a mass, and I know how heavy it is, and like and it just does a smaller space. Like it takes up this huge amount, and it does a small tiny space, and I think this is the size of maybe like, you know, a tiny little maid's room, you know, and like we're being told. I mean, can you imagine, like, people don't comprehend that if you look at, say, the Queen Vic building in Sydney or the exhibition centre here in Melbourne, like you look at the structures and physically look how big they are, and then like just compact that onto a boat, like that whole structure. Like it can't fit on any fucking boat today. Like you can't do it. No. Like it would take, you could build a shitty little brick house on the space you'd have on those boats.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe. I don't even know if you're lucky. Yeah. No, I agree. It's just a silly story. We've been sold a silly story.
Yeah. What's your favorite story, Campbell? I've never asked you that. You've been at this the longest. I know you're the Starport man.
Yeah, I was going to say probably
Starport man.
I mean, Starports are great because the story is all built by the Italians and the French, right? Between basically 1500 and 1750. There's Starports in Australia. Right? That date is supposedly before there was any, you know, technology, white man, whatever down here. Especially South Australia. They've just uncovered them. They haven't even tried to cover them up. They've got about 3 sitting down on the beach. They're in Hobart, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Check out
that, Casey. Look at that one.
Yeah. If you just go to
yeah, I'm going to South Australia after Ballarat.
Oh, cool. Yeah, there's some good ones.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Just go to Google Earth and put in like Fort South Australia, and then it normally brings up everything that's a star fort or something. Cool. There's Hobart, you know, they're everywhere. I just found one in a country town. What is it, on the border? I can't remember the name now. Lost it. But they're everywhere, and it just shows you that it's all the story's a lie. Like that's, to me, that's just 100% proof, and that's with not even looking at the amount of material that goes in, the designs, the cymatics, the geometry, all this, and there's tunnels under them all. You know, it's just a stupid story, right? And built that way to deflect cannonballs, right? Which is another stupid story.
From who? Yeah, which
cannons? And this is
wars again, for war.
Like my first video was on a star fort, Fort Jefferson, and it's in the middle of the ocean. It's off in the Florida Keys, 200 miles from land, literally on a little atoll. And it's got all these cannons, and they're like, oh, it was to defend the USA. What? An island in the middle of the ocean, like to defend against boats who will just sail around it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a stupid story, right? I mean, who's going to see?
How dumb a cannonball? I mean, look at fucking cannonball. So it's like
sail as close as we can so they can shoot at us. It's like, it's dumb. And people spend their whole lives getting into this and like, I'm a military historian and I can tell this and they did this and this cannon was cast from. And you just got to laugh at these people and just think, are you serious? Because all they can do is repeat someone else's opinion. There's no critical thinking there. And it's ego, I guess.
Yeah.
Look how much I know. I'm an expert, you know. I love that.
Yeah. And it's so hard now to go watch those History Channel type shows, isn't it? I struggle so much.
So do I.
The ones that are free to air, you know, you just go, oh my gosh, what is this?
Yeah. And back in the 70s and 80s,
I know, like,
awesome. Like National Geographic and Leonard Nimoy used to do, what was it, History Presents or something? And they would go to like Machu Picchu and they'd show you and they'd tell you the proper stories. Now you can't hardly even find those shows even on YouTube. They've disappeared.
Wow.
Wow.
What about you, Campbell, where you are? So you're in Perth. So like, what are the structures? I've never asked you. What's going on in Perth as far as the buildings around you?
Lots, yeah. We've got Starford in Fremantle, which is an old jail, which is supposed to be the first building built in Fremantle. And of course, it was built by the convicts so that then they could lock themselves inside it, which is what you do. And then the convicts, it wasn't big enough, so that they went and built Fremantle Prison, which is a castle, and there's tunnels under it everywhere. So the prisoners built a prison with tunnels under it. I mean, come on, it's a stupid story. But we had a like a full-on Starfort citadel, and then they knocked it over. They knocked it over to build the freeway. They just demolished the whole thing and left just the front, like just the entrance arch. So you know, Perth just got smashed.
Wow.
But we've definitely got the old buildings. We've got the mud flooders. We've got oversized things. Train tracks everywhere, tunnels everywhere. I mean, I remember back in the 80s, everyone knew, all the kids knew there were tunnels under Perth. You know, I never got in one, but I found a few entrances, but they were, you know, locked. But they're that, and now I don't think any kids in Perth would be talking about tunnels under Perth. But you know, it was always like one of those, you know, urban myth kind of things, wasn't it? And we have a random like brick train tunnel. It's just in the middle of nowhere, just sort of 20 k's north of Perth. It's just out, you know, this really, you know, old world, intricately built brick tunnel with no, you know, just connected to nothing. Just sitting there. So it's the same everywhere.
But
totally disjointed.
Yeah, I've driven all the way up from Melbourne, all the way through New South Wales up to Queensland, and I've just been doing this loop now for the last couple of weeks. And all the tiny little, you know, villages and towns, or the little communities along the way. And I swear to God, they've all got Tartaria structures. Like every single one of them. The main street has been built by the same people as we're dealing with the biggest, most elaborate versions, but
they have all the way, versions,
every single town, without a doubt, if it had 500 people or 5,000 or 50,000, they all had the same main street architecture and the Masonic lodge with the columns and a cathedral of some description. And it's just like across, like, we didn't build one town independently from it, I've come to think. Like, not one single civil like town or village has popped up in Australia of its own merit ever.
Yeah.
We just found the buildings and then migrated there or were given those buildings. But I have not seen one.
Yeah. You know what I noticed yesterday? So we drove yesterday from where I am at Warragul out to Warburton to go to there's an artificial redwood forest out there. So we went to check that out. And we're going through all these little country towns, and nearly every town had an obelisk of some varying size.
Wow.
And some of them like were a monument. Yeah, some were a monument and were a war memorial, but other ones were just a random obelisk with nothing around it, just on the corner of a street or in a paddock, you know, just random obelisks everywhere.
Possibly.
I think we need to do an episode on obelisks. Yeah.
Maybe map them out, you know, locations, and see if there's like ley lines connecting. I mean, we don't know, but there's got to be something.
Well, I could definitely come in on that with you guys, because got to travel back to Victoria from where I am, and I can definitely take notes of obviously
locations and everything.
Because I've come to realize that we actually have no idea how to build a township, or we don't know how to do it. We've never done it. No, we've got no evidence of that ever happening once anywhere in the whole realm across the whole plain. Like, there's no evidence of us starting from scratch anywhere ever.
That's a good point. Where do you start?
Yeah, we actually don't know. Yeah.
Because clearly you would start with the infrastructure, the electricity, the plumbing, everything underground. But when do we see that? And this is the other thing, right? Every city and town, they say, oh, it just evolved, just evolved into a complete symmetrical grid that's perfect. And I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's it's just funny. So it's such a scam. But everything in Australia, like we've got Kalgoorlie in the middle of nowhere, and it's a massive Tartarian town. It's got everything, and the story is that people used to walk from Perth to Kalgoorlie, and there's even a little statue of a miner, and he's got his wheelbarrow, and that was a story. They all built a wheelbarrow out of wood, and they walked from Perth to Kalgoorlie, which is literally 90% of it is just desert, and it's probably, I don't know how far it is, probably a couple of thousand k's. And no water.
Doesn't it take like 8 hours to drive there or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A day to get there in a car. There's no water on the way. They had to build a massive water pipeline out there. Well, they say they built it. Yeah, but the story isn't everyone believes.
Yeah, we touched on that in our Goldfields episode. Yeah, that big pipeline.
CJ O'Connor, yeah. And that's a funny story too, right? They say that
then he just
They say that he designed it and built it, and then when he turned it on, because of the length of it and where the water was coming from, it took like 2 days or something for the water to actually come out. And he turned it on, and after like a day or something, he's like, "Oh, it doesn't work," and he killed himself. That's the story. So he designed it, but he didn't know how long it would take the water to get to the end. It's like, are you serious?
And then they put that creepy monument of him in the ocean
Yeah.
where he
was riding his
supposedly killed himself. Like, that's so creepy.
So weird.
Isn't it?
It's a really odd story. It doesn't make sense.
We liked that one, didn't we, Casey? When we were doing that research, we'd be like, just going, what is going on here?
But
like, who is this?
Even other people had been questioning that weren't even in, the Tartaria field. Like there was a historian doing a talk at a local museum trying to, clear his name and say he wouldn't have done that, yada, yada, yada. So, it's just an odd story.
Well, it could be the same as, the bush stranger. These could be original people that were doing stuff, and had knowledge, and they were like, oh, well, we've got to explain that pipeline. We'll pin it on this guy, and then we'll just knock him off, and we don't have to explain anything else about it.
Yeah.
Which they do all the time, right? I mean,
that's right.
Many inventors and that,
just hijacking history,
or kill themselves, and it's
or they've had multiple jobs. They were, they did millions of different things. These guys had 5 hats, and they could juggle everything. At once. It's like people can barely get away with doing one job these days, let alone doing all the things during that time with very limited means.
Yeah, who was the guy who did the Crystal Palace? I've forgotten his name. But he was like a 20-year-old gardener, right? He was a gardener.
Yes.
Right, and then he was
from England.
And then he just decided to build the Crystal Palace and everything, and all these massive glass houses. And he invented the Cavendish banana, right? And in his greenhouses, they were growing tropical foods, right? Tropical foods that they were growing. And he also grew redwood.
Oh, that's right.
Which is what I thought of when you said, Casey, that there was a planted redwood forest. I mean, and we know redwoods are giant trees, right?
Yeah.
Are these remnants?
Yeah.
But they.
Well, this one that I went to yesterday, the story behind that is that it was part of an experiment that the Board of Works did back in the 1930s. But like JoJo and I touched on last week in episode, we talked about artificial forests a little bit, and we thought, you know, what are they hiding? What could they be hiding under those artificial forests?
Well, that's a good
They seem to pop up in a lot of places, same as, you know, the staff ports under the golf courses.
Yeah. But national
you just
park,
don't know what's hiding under there. And once there's huge giant, well, this redwood forest is now, it wasn't originally a part of the national park, but now it is. So once something's in a national park, we can't dig up, we can't explore, we can't check it out.
Yeah.
You know what's fascinating about that? Because I do the Regen Ag world and the whole fucking bullshit around climate change, like what they're doing now, what they're forcing upon everyone, the business is this zero carbon net emission, like zero carbon, like the whole buzzword, right? What that literally means for most people is that you offset your carbon by planting trees. So what they're pushing is that every corporation in the whole every business owner, everyone who's like, with their accounting now at the end of the year, they have to also do an accounting for their carbon, their use of carbon, their carbon footprint. And when they do that, then they have to offset it. And so they're all planting these terrible monoculture forests everywhere, like a lot of eucalyptus, but that is the end result of their whole plan with net zero, is to plant these artificial forests everywhere, which are terrible for the environment and do the exact opposite to what most people believe is going to happen if you plant all these trees. But isn't it interesting that they're actually like taking millions and millions of acres, like from all over the realm, and forcing these new forests on top of them, which then become national treasures. Like you can't go in there anymore.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like they're covering up. The final stage for them and their agenda is to like basically turn everything back to an endangered national forest that no one can build, explore, do anything in, by actually building all these disgusting monocultural like plantations and forcing everyone to do it. So it like people are being forced to re-green the world in this terrible way, but for us, we can't then access the land.
Yeah.
Then they get
it's
us
all part of an elaborate plan.
And we pick up the tab. I mean, and again, this is like everything's. I had a chat yesterday with JCK, talking about obligation, right, and how everything it's they put this obligation on us, and if you don't stand up, you know, if you don't do your obligation, then everyone shames you. You know, it's this big scam, isn't it? So it's like, well, you know, you've got to plant these trees, or you're a bad company. But when you look at what they produce, these lines of trees where no animals live, no insects live, there's no diversity, there's no nature, is what there is. There's trees, but it's not nature. And like you said, then we can't go there. And they do the same thing with all the old sites, either heritage listed or where's your archaeological degree, because we need to know that if you go in, you're going to agree with what we say, or else you're not going in. It's a scam.
And all the wealth, the whole economic structure that we're used to in our realm right now, the current one, none of that was self-made. Like none of the towns or cities were self-made. Like literally they handed it to individuals who were like in alignment with their reset and agenda, and they got the estates and the properties and the big housing, beautiful houses and the mansions. They all got given those things at the beginning of
they inherited all that.
Yes, and then that flew through their family bloodline. So you know,
was never theirs to start with. That's the problem, and then the wealth continues to grow within their families, and that's what happens. And so us who didn't even get a chance, we just think that that's just how it is.
And then we do all this personal development. What's wrong with us? We need to figure out law of attraction, fucking how to use our minds. Like, why are we so unable to practice? They all want to be like, you know, Richard Branson, a self-made billionaire, or what the fucking stories they tell us. Like, but it's all crap. No one has, not one example of in our history of anyone being a self-made millionaire. Probably, mostly, it's all come from family inherited lines through this great reset. All of it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Well,
true. I never thought of that. Yeah.
And then we just feel really shit about ourselves.
Yeah. And then we got
why hasn't nobody worked?
Tony Robbins course to fix ourselves, right?
Oh gosh.
Give me the answer. Give me the answer.
It costs money to do all those things too.
Yeah.
Oh, I
We've
did
all
do
done
a
it.
Tony Robbins once.
Yeah.
I did.
Casey.
We've all done some version of that.
I
A lot of us have
Yes,
done heaps
yeah.
of that. But at the end of the day, Cameron, I was saying the other day, like, where the fuck are all the gurus right now? Where are all these people, like, not standing up for this agenda, not saying anything? They've already disappeared.
They've
You
made their
know,
money,
where's
they've made their
Laura
millions,
Jackson
and
right
they've
now?
moved on.
Yeah.
They're all locked up in their mansions with their boats and helicopters and all this kind of stuff.
Living
They've
the
done
life,
their
right?
job.
Living their life, living the high life.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah.
And isn't it interesting that none of them, like no one, no music, actor, anything, but in the last 2 years we've had all these other people just pop out of the ether, you know, and all the new channels are a whole new way of thinking and a new class of people, and then it's not built on look at me and what I've got and I've done this and I've written books and oh my god I'm going to tell you how to live. It's all just people being people. And that's awesome. That's where we're going. So we've already changed the media. We've already destroyed Hollywood and the media. They're gone. We're the media now, you know. So we're definitely, you know, there's a lot changing, you know. So I think that's what we need to focus on. What have we done? What are we doing? Not this, oh my God, what are they doing? They're going to do this, poor little us.
We have a huge responsibility to turn that around, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's us having to say, wait a minute, let's stop focusing on this distraction, which is celebrity and, you know, politics and all of that. Let's turn it around and start looking at what we really need to focus on, which is this new earth. If this is really what we're looking at, we want. And I think that's what, from what I understand, most of us in this community want. But we just need a clear path, and I don't think anyone in our community has set that yet, and I don't think anyone knows where to start.
Well, there's no gurus in this space, is there?
We don't.
Well,
there's no one.
There's no ego.
There's no ego.
And like truly, like this space, the truth seeking side of us in the 5D realm is about truth seeking within us, our own traumas and ancestral shit that needs healing. Like it's all about us now. The truth of our being, the truth of us, not this external. I mean, once we get to Tartaria, you're at the Truman Show, you're at the end of the set, you know, you've seen the set. So once you've seen the set, everything else falls, and what's left, it's like, all right, you are truth seeking your own traumas, hidden wounds, hidden blocks, whatever it is in you now, for that to be cleared out now, you know, and then finally we enter this new space.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head there.
And
definitely.
Just do it, right?
Yeah.
We don't know what we're doing, but we're doing it anyway. That's what I tend to say. Is it's you don't need the rules.
Exactly.
You just need to know where you're going.
That's right.
There's no mistakes, right? There's only mistakes, and they're just like that. Just is telling you to try again a different way. That's all it is. And if we look at life like that, then you know we've got everything, right? And at the same time, they're barring us from all their crappy society. So it's just motivation. Just telling us
Exiled.
what we're right? Oh, you can't go out to clubs. So how are we going to entertain ourselves? You know, you can't go to Coles. How are we going to produce food? How are we going to get a system in place? So that's, you know, we're being, this collapse is literally walking us down the road to what we want, is the way I see it. You know?
It is waking a lot of people up.
Yeah, it is. And I'm not interested in repairing the old earth anymore. I'm done with that, man. I'm into
it's beyond repair.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, and I saw the an interview by the Fall of the Cambell girls, the two what are they, Dutch or whatever, and that was
Holland.
Holland, and they were saying, you know, basically like Kelly was saying, be careful, you know, it looks like, you know, we're either going to roll everything back and make you think like they've won, and then they're going to sort of come back and do this and do that. But you know, we let them do that, don't we? Like I think if we believe that, then then that's what they get. You know, we've just got to go forward and go. And the other thing is, it's got to be a total reset. You know, all these people like, oh, we're here now, stop the mandates, call an election. I'm like, call an election?
No.
If that happens, that's the problem. That's when they can turn it around and reset us again, right? But if we go, well, we're here and guess what? You're all going to jail. No one gets through this from your side. We're going to take you all down and start again. Well, then they can't come back at us, can they? They can't come back with another lockdown. They can't come back with anything because they don't exist anymore. And so it's got to be a total and utter cleansing, or else, because they're a virus,
breakdown of the system.
Even if there's a little bit left, they sit there and fester and they whisper and infect other people, and then in 50 years we're back in the same position. So we've got to be smart. They got to go. They don't belong anymore.
Got to go, Mrs. Campbell. They just got to go. They got to go, Australia. Got to go. Had enough. And we don't need governing, because we don't need a governor. We're not children. Hello. No. We've just hit the top of the food chain of consciousness in regards to deprogramming ourselves. We definitely don't need a nanny ever again. Do we? So listen, ladies, I just want to say to you one thing, which is I am formally honouring your work. It's been really excellent watching two Aussie girls rise up with the Tartarian world, and I love your style. I love that you just sort of take a topic and you walk through it, and you're just having a chat with each other, and it's so like easily accessible. You really take a very big topic and make it you translate it beautifully. I want to honor that. For any of our audience that hasn't seen the work you do, we're going to leave all the links underneath this podcast. Go and check it out. If you want to, share Tartaria with your friends and family who have no idea what you're on about, you guys have produced some fantastic work with Australia and the way that you present it. So guys, I just wanted to say that. I mean, I'm just honoring you because you've done an amazing job, and I know you're just going to fine tune it and perfect it and get more and more marvelous in your approach and wilder, and it's all going to I'd love to see what you guys are up to in like a year's time, where your minds and skills have gone. It's been really fun, and I hope that Cambell and I can collab with you a lot more in relationship to sort of like running this through the New Earth template and seeing what we can do together from that perspective. So well done with all your work, guys. And, it's a real testimony to your soulful contribution to this space.
Thank you, Kelly. That's very kind of you. We appreciate it.
And congratulations. Thank you. On your success, you guys have grown extremely fast, and it's just testament, right? So just you're doing, you're in your power, right? You're doing what you believe in, and it's like you at the start you didn't know what you were doing, right? But you did it anyway, and that's the only way to start.
Exactly.
It's the only way to start. That's how we all started. So, if anyone out there who wants to do anything, you just do it, right? And you stumble and you start bad and you end up better. That's the only way to get better. So it's a big testament to what we can do. In how many months are we talking? 4 months or something? 5 months? You got 20,000 subs.
Something like that.
Amazing, right?
We've been putting out an episode every week. So, that's been our goal, is if we can just get one episode out a week, we're happy.
Consistency is a big thing in this. And I see channels and they get all this content and they put out like 5 videos in a week, and then you never hear from them for like another month, and then they're back, kind of thing. And so I think if you make anyone out there got 5 videos, just put them up every week, right? And don't jam them all, spread them out, and that keeps you in people's consciousness is what it does. So
that's right. For sure.
So thank you for joining us. We really enjoyed it. And
thank you.
Hopefully it's the first of many, and we love your work. Again, all the links will be below. So keep up the good work and keep us informed with what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for having us.
Our pleasure.
Do you have any parting words or sentiments or nuggets of wisdom for the audience? Anything you'd like to say to end this amazing podcast?
Any lofty viewpoints?
Just keep watching.
Jeez,
because
no
we
pressure.
honestly don't even, I know. Well, I just think just keep watching because we don't even know it's coming. Do you know what I mean? Like it just happens organically for us, and just keep watching.
Yeah, and I just want to say to people, keep just looking at everything now. Like once people start learning about this topic, I love that people like message us or send us, little comments or photos of things that they've seen, and they get so excited about like looking at everything with this totally new perspective. So just keep looking around you with like this new set of fresh eyes, and share it with anyone and everyone, and get everyone else thinking too.
On board.
Exactly.
So ladies, are you going to join us on the quest for the Crystal City in the desert? We're going to have the first Tartarian festival in the Northern Territory, no less, straight into the belly of the beast. We'd love you to join us. We're all going to travel out there and just put up a Zoom link and a screen and just have a Tartarian festival party.
Sounds
we have no idea what it's going to look like.
I'm always
come
down for a festival.
Exactly, and it'll be like our version of, the only people there will be our Indigenous brothers and sisters and the Tartarian hunters. So hello, we're going to be in like an amazing energetic to really uncover something I think we've not even known yet. Totally unknown territory. You're going to join us?
It sounds incredible. Yeah, absolutely.
We're in.
That's coming up in June, around June. So yeah, we'll keep you posted. You're already set up. Okay.
Yeah. Sounds incredible.
Yeah.
We'll be happy to promote
I'm
some of that with our people too.
Excellent. And if ever you're passing through Melbourne, do come and join me. Come and stay for a couple of nights and let me show you around Melbourne through the Tartarian lens. And I'm sure the same with Perth, with Cambell.
Thank you. That would be awesome.
Definitely.
Yes, I'm nearly.
All right, guys, I have to go.
Thank you so much, guys. That was really fun. Our first interview. Well done.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very awesome. Well, great work, guys. Amazing. And I'm really excited for us to all become friends and just keep working together at some level. We've got an amazing new earth ahead of us to design and create. So I love meeting our family and soul group,
Awesome.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you,
all right.
guys.
Love everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.